impose a minimum clothing on people. So every country that you can think of, Canada, America, Britain, where all of these secular Iranians run to, where do they run to? America, to England, to Germany? Is there not a minimum dress that is imposed by the government?
There is.
Yeah, so now this sounds, of course, like an extreme example, but we have to give extreme examples to illustrate the point. If I strip down naked right now, if an Iranian stripped down naked in New York City, what will happen? They will be forced to cover up. At some point, they will be fined or they will be arrested, they will be warned, right? Because every city has its own version of morality police. Police are enforcing morality. They have their own version of morality and vice, police and whatnot. So by that standard, this would be my counter question to secular people, that if you are acknowledging that the government has a right to enforce some minimum clothing, how do you know what that minimum clothing is? Who said that it's just this? Why is it only the genitals? Why is it in many Western countries women cannot expose their breasts? Breasts are not part of the sexual anatomy per se. Breasts are something men have as well. Men have breasts, men have nipples. So I can take off my shirt and show my breast. Why can't a woman do that? That's certainly not gender equal. That's certainly not gender neutral. So I don't know what good answer a secular person can give other than it depends on the customs of the land. It depends on the cultural sensitivities of the people in that society. By that standard, Akhi, we can say, well, by the cultural sensitivities and by the cultural standards of Yemen, the Yemeni government should make sure that women are also covering their hair. By the cultural sensitivities of Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, well, then the government should enforce that level of clothing, even by secular standards. Even by secular standards. Okay, so I'll continue. Now, but as Muslims now, we want to know that does Allah give the right I know. But I wanted to clarify that first point too. Does Allah give an Islamic government the right to enforce that clothing? So in all honesty, I've made the disclaimer already. I'm no scholar, I'm no expert. But from the little bit that I've looked into this, I did not find anything very clear in the Quran or in the Hadith. I didn't find anything very clearly that would say that the Sultan or the Hakim can enforce this, if a lady doesn't do it. I was listening to a scholar the other day. That scholar said that throughout Islamic history, it was enforced, but on a micro level, not on the macro level. It didn't have to be done by the government because families, villages, societies, communities, they made sure that their daughters and their sisters dressed in a certain way. And in those societies, the women couldn't even imagine dressing in another way. Just like in London, no woman here, no matter how secular she is, no matter how liberal she is, how atheist she is, she can never dream of taking off all of her clothes. Unless she's crazy. She can never dream of stripping. But you know what I mean? 99.999% will never even think of taking off all of their clothes.
The culture.
Yes. So it's not really the British government that on a practical level has to enforce it. On a practical level, it's the social pressure, society, customs that ensure that women and men don't completely strip down naked, in England. Now, in case we do, then the police will step in, right? So historically, that's how it was done. But in the modern era where families are breaking down, where there's migration, where there's, gentrification, people are moving around, you don't have traditional extended families and villages enforcing this anymore. So this is in some ways a modern question. In some ways, this is a modern question, that can the modern nation state, if it's an Islamic state, can they enforce this? And to be honest with you, I don't see why, even from an Islamic perspective, why not? Okay. They can enforce red lights and green lights on the traffic lights. They can enforce that you're not chewing gum in a government building. I'm finishing my answer very quickly, that I think it is quite possible and plausible that if the government takes on that responsibility and says that they're going to enforce this, they can. However, I want to say one thing about Iran. You can only enforce something when it's already in line with the beliefs and the values and the culture of a people. You cannot. Would we ever think of enforcing hijab in London on these? We couldn't, because their values and their belief system is not in line with ours. I suspect this is the situation in Iran, unfortunately. I suspect
I
the majority of women don't seem to want enforced hijab.
I don't want really to focus in Iran a lot because you really clarify that killing a woman because she doesn't wear a headscarf or jilbab.
Yeah, that's a crime. That's a crime.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's a crime.
that's we move on.
It has something to do with Islam in that it's a crime. Islam says
The
it's a crime.
second point is that if Allah Azza wa Jal, for example, gave authority to the state to impose jilbab on women, and you says maybe
Explicitly, no.
Yeah.
I'm not aware.
Do you agree that if women left the house without jilbab or exposing her body, that you know what is a munkar, like an evil? Do you agree that this is a munkar or not?
Oh, that of course. That of
100%.
course.
There is verses in the Quran where Allah Azza wa Jal, He commands us to remove munkar if we see. For example, there is a verse where Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran says, "Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas, ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanahuna 'anil munkar."
That's why we're the best of ummahs if we do that.
So another verse where Allah says, "Al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd, ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar." And the Prophet Muhammad says, religion is a nasiha, is an advice. If you see something wrong, change it, right? By your hands, which is that belongs to the authority,
The authorities,
the
yes,
government
yes.
or the husband inside the house. If you cannot change it, then change it by your tongue, which means speak and give advice. If you can't by your tongue, by your heart, like ask Allah to guide this person. So if we look at that's what I'm. So if we look at the Quran and the Sunnah, that the government they have to make sure that women, when they leave the house, they should dress like the way Allah Azza wa Jal commanded. And not just for a Muslim woman, by the way, for the Muslim and the Christians and the Hindus and all the women, because that's an evil. That's a munkar, you understand? And that will cause a lot of damage to the society. And if we don't do that, if the state they don't care anymore, why they don't care? Because maybe there is an outsider power, say the United Nations. They will threat this country, or if you force a woman to cover, we will sanction you, and the government says, okay, well, I'm not going to force them, so this is going to cause less harm. Which that's a reasonable answer, you understand? But if the government, like the authorities, say we don't care because there is no punishment in the Quran of that, I believe that's the authority that would be questioned if they have done it.
Yeah. They would be questioned, but they might have an answer, as you said. They might have a reasonable answer or excuse. So, no, I agree with everything you said, and that's why I said that I didn't find anything explicit and direct. It doesn't mean that there's not something that could be implicit, that we could deduce from the Quran, of course. So, what I meant was, there's no like hudud punishment given in the Quran or in the hadiths for the lady not wearing the hijab, in that sense. But you're right, generally under the category of prohibiting the evil, the government could say, that look, I mean, this is part of sexual morality, public morality, we have to enforce this. So I'm agreeing with you in principle, but I'm just being honest with you. I really feel, brother, that Iran is a very complex situation. I know, okay, but I am. Okay. Yeah, but because everyone will apply this to Iran. Everyone is thinking about Iran right now. Even you were originally thinking about Iran. So Iran in particular, I feel that at this point, man, if they weigh out the, maslaha and all that, it seems like they are turning their population more and more against Islam, unfortunately. So there has to be some basic ta'lim, some basic education at this point first. And hijab is like step 10, man. It's there, but it's not maybe step number 1. I think they forgot about step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because these people, they after 30 years of living under a so-called Islamic regime, they should love the hijab. They should love the Sharia. They should love Islam. So the fact that they don't is, number 1, we know that they have a different idea of Sharia, of course. We're not Shia. But number 2 is they probably didn't even do their own job. Even if I was Shia, I would say that this Shia government has not done a proper job of sharing Shiaism with the people.
So what is since we agree that the state, they have to remove evil, and women live in the house.
But the bigger evil right now is apostasy.
I agree with you.
Look at the Iranians that I meet in Canada. I'm telling you, like 8 out of 10 of them will just say, I'm ex-Muslim, I'm not even a Muslim. And then 2 will say they're Muslim. Now, what kind of Muslim? Allahu alam. But I'm just happy to hear when they say they're Muslim. I say, Assalamu alaikum.
No, but you agree with me?
Assalamu alaikum, I say to them.
So the state, they have a right to remove evil. Okay, we agree
in principle, in theory.
So the state, if they say to women, for example, they made a law that women, when they leave the house, there is a certain dress, as you say, is sexual public or something. That's what you have to do. Now,
even under secular law.
Yeah, if the woman she refused to do
Yes.
that, then she will receive a punishment, which we agree that is not
It cannot be death. Cannot be death. Yeah. It's a discretionary,
So
whatever.
I think even though it didn't describe the punishment in the Quran or the Sunnah, but there's something called the ta'zir, which the state
Discretionary. They decide.
So, as I told you, the death penalty is completely, or even like shaving the hair or cutting the hair. No, so probably she'll be arrested. Maybe she will have a fine or something. You know?
Yeah.
So this is an answer for those, because there are a lot of so-called Muslim liberals. That doesn't make any sense. That no, the government they shouldn't enforce the law. Okay, Lan, this so-called liberal Muslims, why are you enforcing? Why are you asking the Jews and the Christians to pay the jizya?
Well, they won't ask them for that either.
Okay.
They'll say all of that is.
How can you answer the question?
Finished,
Why do you ask the Jews and the Christians to pay the jizya? It's not about enforcing. You understand? Why the state they will punish you if someone does not pray 5 times a day? You understand? Someone does not pray 5 times a day is not a Muslim. And the state, they will make sure that people they pray. They should make people that fast in Ramadan. They pay zakat to the state. If a Muslim says, I don't want to pray, don't pay zakat, you think the state they have go ahead? It's between you and Allah? No.
Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu
There's
anhu
more against them,
fought
right?
them.
If the Jews and the Christians, they refuse to pay the jizya, just leave them alone. But as I told you, the state, they should seek. If forcing someone to wear a hijab or to fast Ramadan, which will get worse and worse, then they shouldn't. Because there is power outside.
And that's why it's complex, because I think right now the biggest munkar right now is that whatever little bit of Islam they have left, whatever little bit of Islam, every Iranian can say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. At least they can say this. Even this they will lose it. Even this they will lose it. And they're going to fall right into the arms of the Islamophobes and the people who hate Islam. And now I'm hearing the Iranians, it started with just we don't like hijab, this and that. There's some bad mullahs, there's some good mullahs. It started with that. Now they're falling into the arms of the anti-Islam Islamophobes, and now they're repeating their arguments. Now they're talking about everything. This, that, apostasy and marriage of Aisha, this, that. Like they're just repeating everything now. So they've lost whatever little bit of Islam they had left, you know. So in my mind, the bigger munkar right now is to preserve the basic Islam or kalima, the tawheed that they have, before they become atheists and agnostic, man.
I agree with you that they fail big time.
Just like in my own home, Aki, just like in my own home, I don't have a daughter. But if I had a daughter, would I enforce hijab on her? Of course I would. Of course I would.
But what, enforcement, just to clarify, is not just taking jinn.
No, but just telling her, look, you live here, you're under my roof, I'm your dad, you have to do this when you leave the home. But once she reaches a certain age, if I saw, to be honest with you, if I saw that she's becoming so rebellious, she's not praying now, she's starting to hate Islam, at that point then, I wouldn't be enforcing it in the same way. Not because I don't believe I should be enforcing it, but I'm like, right now, if I keep on pressuring her for the hijab, she's going to leave Islam altogether.
I agree.
So I'll just say, okay, it's between you and Allah. I've taught you what's right. So now it'll become nasiha now.
I understand. I agree with you. I told you.
So Iran has reached this point now. They're rebelling now.
They shouldn't. As you said, if you have a daughter and you say maybe she's going to rebel and leave the house and it get worse, maybe she leave Islam. Start with like the basics, like tawheed, and this is a command from Allah. We go to paradise. This, like it might make it nice to her. And then move on to fear her as for punishment in hellfire. This you praise him and Allah guide her. Probably she come back. You know what I mean? But this thing she should done. When it comes to a father, you have first of all you have to choose the right wife. You have to choose the righteous one. Prophet Muhammad told us that you have to choose a right religious wife because she can help you. And as you said, you have to be with your children. You have to be nice to them. When they grow up, they will know.
Right.
If you just completely ignoring them, you choose like a half-naked wife and she doesn't care. Of course, you will have problems.
And I think this is what that Iranian regime seems to have done. It seems like they've enforced a certain morality on the people, and the people feel that the government people themselves have not lived according to that morality. They are guilty of corruption. They are guilty of this. So people's feelings are going to change them, right, against them. So it's unfortunate, but
Alhamdulillah.
maybe something good will come out of the bad. Maybe things have to go bad before they get good again.
We don't. Again, this is killing someone. She doesn't wear a hijab.
We agree. Everyone knows that's a crime in Islam. and that's a crime
That's
in
not,
the
that's
secular
not, that's
mind.
not how because some women, I don't know if they are Muslims or atheists, they start burning the headscarf or jilbab. I mean, is this the right punishment because of the stupid behavior of a police officer? You understand?
Yeah.
I mean, what has a headscarf or jilbab to do with the stupid behavior of police officers? You understand?
Yeah.
I saw videos. Some people they are attacking mullahs and they start screwing the turbans away.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, that's the whole tragedy, that in the minds of many Iranians, Islam and their government are synonymous. It's one and the same thing. There's no difference. The government is Islam. Islam is the Iranian government. Now you and I know that's not the case, but in their minds, that's how it works. And we make dua, may Allah help the cause of
so
Islam.
much, brother, for that.
Jazak Allah Khair. Thank you, man, for sharing. Thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you? Oh, no problem. Do I have any of your items here? What's your channel name, brother?
Let me close this and then.